I remember once when I went to visit Hyo Jin in his garden, we were talking, strumming his guitar. I finished my PhD, started a business in finance on Wall Street. And he suddenly said, "Hey, Jin, I really pity you." I said, "Young? Really? Why?" He said, "Life is about art. Life is about creating something beautiful out of nothing. All you do every day is go to work and worry about money and finance. That's not art." It was one of those things that he just kind of blurted out to me, and I kind of walked away. Actually, I said something like, "Well, Hyung, you know, I mean, just check this out. This is where I come from. Well, Hyung, at the highest levels of finance, you'd be surprised how creative it can be." That's me to a T. That says it all right there. And instead of walking away really profoundly thinking about that, instead of just saying, "Well, I just don't know how to sketch and draw, and I don't write songs, and I can't sing, so I'll do finance." But he was trying to teach me something there, and he didn't pound it into me. At one point, I was destined to be his bass guitarist. I did play the piano, and he said, "You should keep that up, Jin." That's important. Creating something beautiful out of nothing. And there was this element of, might not be around for long. All the true children, and this is something that we need to work as a group to alleviate from their hearts, is part of them knows they might have to go early. Hung Jin definitely knew. I'm sure Hyo Jin knew. And part of them actually wants them to go. If they're on this alien planet surrounded by people who don't know how to love, and all they want to do is love, they actually long to go home. And so it's the music. It's the art. Think about that deeply. You know, when we gathered for that dinner in February of this year, we looked around the room, and Hyun Jin was there, and Kook Jin was there, In Jin was there, Sun Jin was there. Hyo Jin, of course, was the host, and the husbands and wives were there. And we looked around and said, this particular group of true family members haven't been together in 15 years. And Hyung is the one who brought us together. And we sat and we talked and we joked, and I watched them. I've also learned recently I should just keep my mouth shut. I didn't when I was younger, because when I was younger, they were very young. And so I kind of was promoted to kind of like be an influence on them. And I realized, you know what? I should just back off, because despite whatever I do, good or bad, they're growing up to be incredible heroes. With our help and despite our help. And I just become more and more humble as each of them grow older and older, and I just have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. And so I just watched them talk. And some of them hadn't seen each other in years. But that particular group haven't seen each other as one group. And it was a very moving dinner. Because the beginning of this origin and the vision, Hyo Jin was implementing this union, this reunion. And each one of them is so passionate. And each one of them is engrafted into Cain's world and Cain's children. When they come together, sometimes there are some difficulties when they're expressing to one another. And sometimes they get, pretty riled up. First of all, it's none of our concern, because trust them. And it did get heated at times. And at times, different members of the elder family, particularly Hyo Jin were saying, "Let's not fight today. It's True Parents' birthday. Let's just enjoy each other's company." At one point, we were reminiscing a bit, and my wife In Jin said, "Oppa, before you came along, rock and roll was a sin." That says a lot. Because Hyung, being our eldest brother, opened doors in many peculiar ways, in ways that we didn't understand. But doors that will accommodate us. Thank God he actually didn't conform into some universal cosmic principle that we all could agree on and then try to live up to that standard. That would almost be impossible. It's really God's grace to us that they come down and we get to watch them fumble around and figure it out. And if they can do it, I'm not so sure if we can do it, because they're different. But they're showing us the way. And if we commit ourselves to just love them and try their hardest and understand, I guess the message is, they can read our minds and our hearts. As you pass them in the hallway, as you look at them at Belvedere, the leaders' meetings, the leaders are clueless. They don't know, actually. Because the true children just, you know, Hyun goes like this. He's like, don't kill him, don't kill him. Hold it in, pretend, play stupid. I don't feel it. And it's getting them to the bone. Each and every one of them are that sensitive. That's sensitive. Think about it. When I first married In Jin, and I was, you know, I kept saying, In Jin, why are you so sensitive? And even my dad once said that to her. He and I kind of ganged up. And think about what we're doing to her. And then she said, what's wrong with being sensitive? Why are you so insensitive? True children are like a 500-year-old Stradivarius violin. Delicate and sensitive. They pick up these vibrations and make music and noise in ways that we couldn't possibly examine. You and I, we're a $2.99 ukulele. And we want to play with them. That's really what it's like. They're so sensitive. And I got to tell you, it drives me nuts sometimes. It drives you guys nuts sometimes because it's so sensitive. But I came to realize and continue to realize that that's a gift. That's part of their gift to us. They're not dull, which is the opposite of sensitive. They're not dull. They're not insensitive. They're actually what we, the king world, would call, this planet would call, hypersensitive. So understand that Hyo Jin Moon was hypersensitive. So for him to exist amongst us was hard for him. But because he reached deep down inside and loved God, loved true parents in a profound way, he never read the Divine Principle book. Where do you think all that knowledge came from when you call him an expert on creationism? He never read the Divine Principle book. Well, I'm sure he did, but they get it. It drops to them, and they get it through their suffering. They get it through figuring out the hard way. It's like not having a calculus professor, but you just have to do math the hard way and make all the mistakes and figure it out. And not everybody can do that. I certainly couldn't do that. I'm a good student, but these people are creators. They're geniuses, actually. Young geniuses. But they're so sensitive. And so I urge you, and I think I know what Hyung would ask me, because when we talked about the family, he said, don't worry, Chen. They're all like me. And we love true parents. More than you. More than you know. And we're going to come together. Even as we look like we're apart. Even as it looks like we're debating and arguing, you can't fathom what we're debating and arguing about. Because your heart is so limited. So don't worry. And what I would then add to that, to my brothers and sisters here, is so we can try to be sensitive around them, each and every one of them. You know, when Hyo Jin Moon passed away, you know, all the true children, you have no idea how it pained each of them. And the pain that they're going through now. I mean, part of the reason why Inja's not here is she's immobilized. She went through the motions and the ceremonies, and most of which left out true children in Korea. And then she comes home quietly and just suffers. And she wrote a song. Her first song she ever wrote was, following Hyo Jung's footsteps, was a song for Hyo Jin Moon when he passed away. And then she just started writing. She couldn't stop. And she says to me, and I'm sure Hyung would say the same, without music, I would be dead already. It gives me something to live for in this world of pain. Because nobody knows my heart. Imagine, for example, when you know, some of us pushed In Jin to put some of those songs in a CD, and following Hyo Jung's leadership, you know, offered the CD. And I want to share something with you, without naming names, but the comment when one brother gave it to another brother who was in the music department said, oh, just what we need, more true family angst. That killed In Jin. And in one fell swoop, that comment that could have come from any one of us, including me, it disrespected Hyo Jin Young. and all his musical work. That's what he's talking about. That's all we need. Another, more true family angst. So that's a reference to Hyo Jin Young's work, and now In Jin's work. And it's like, and she was crushed. She was crushed. It hurts her deeply.